The knife slipped from her hand when the message popped up. Maya Collins stood in her quiet kitchen, slicing strawberries for dinner, the evening light washing the countertops in soft gold. It was the kind of ordinary, peaceful moment that's supposed to feel safe. The kind of moment you don't realize will be the last version of before. A phone buzzed from the couch in the living room. Not her phone. Hi. One casual vibration. One small sound that would shatter everything. Maya wiped her hands on a dish towel and walked into the living room without thinking, the way you do when you're comfortable in your own home, when you still trust the person you live with. Daniel's phone lit up. A preview of a message glowed on the screen. Lila, I can't wait to feel you again. Should I stay the whole weekend at your place, or are you sneaking to mine? Maya's world didn't explode. It narrowed. The room shrank around her until all she could see was that name. Lila. Her best friend. Her sister. The woman who had held her bouquet on her wedding day. For a second, her brain tried to save her. Maybe it's a joke. Maybe it's for someone else. Maybe. Her hand moved before her hope could finish its sentence. She picked up the phone. Her thumb hovered, then opened the chat. Messages poured up the screen like vomit she couldn't stop. Photos. Videos. Pet names. Hotel names. Dates. Last night on the balcony was the best night of my life. You were so loud, I thought your wife would hear. You know she'd die if she knew we were together on her honeymoon. Her honeymoon. The screen blurred as her eyes filled. She wiped her face with the back of her wrist and kept scrolling, like someone pressing on a bruise to be sure it really hurts as much as they think it does. Two names glared back at her again and again. Daniel. Lila. Her husband. Her best friend. Together. For years. Under her nose. Under her roof. Inside her life. The kitchen felt very far away now. The strawberries, the cutting board, the simmering pot on the stove, they belonged to another woman. A woman who still lived in a lie she called love. Maya's fingers shook, but her mind sharpened. She forwarded every photo and message to her own phone. Each sent felt like driving a nail into the coffin of the life she thought she had. By the time she dropped the phone back on the couch, her hands were steady. The pot on the stove began to hiss. The house smelled like burning sugar. Something inside her had already finished burning. Before we step fully into how Maya's story began long before this moment, let's breathe for a second. If you're still here, watching or listening, subscribe to Love Between Worlds so you don't miss stories like this, stories about love, betrayal, and women who refuse to stay broken. In the comments, tell me. Where are you watching from? And what's one lesson you think people ignore when it comes to trust and relationships? Alright. Let's go back to where Maya thought everything was still perfect, because that's where this story really starts. Years earlier, the sun had also been kind. It painted the small suburban street in orange and pink as Maya paced her living room, phone in hand, heart racing. She checked her reflection on the TV screen, smoothed her curls, and laughed at herself. "You're being dramatic," she whispered. But some part of her knew. Her phone buzzed. "Daniel, come outside." She swallowed hard, grabbed her keys, and stepped out into the evening. Daniel Reed was waiting beneath the huge maple tree that shaded the front of their apartment building. He was in a plain navy shirt and jeans, hair slightly messy, that boyish half-smile she loved tugging at his lips. Maya slowed. The world went quiet in that strange way it does right before everything changes. "Hey," she said. "Hey," he replied, and his voice shook. Then Daniel did the thing every romantic movie has trained us to expect, and yet somehow it still knocks the air out of you when it happens in real life. He dropped to one knee. "Maya," he said, looking up at her like she was the only person on the planet. "From the first time you walked into my life, I knew I'd spend the rest of it chasing your laugh. You're my home. Will you marry me?" Her throat closed. Tears blurred her vision. "Yes," she whispered. Then louder, laughing, crying, "Yes, Daniel. Of course I'll marry you." The ring slid onto her finger, too big by half a size, perfect in every other way. The neighbors on the balcony across the street clapped. Someone whistled. Maya threw her arms around him. For a second, she genuinely believed this was what forever looked like. She had no idea that the man on his knees had already shared himself with another woman. Later that night, Maya lay sprawled across her bed, staring at the ring as if it were a little son. She called everyone. Her cousin. Her colleagues. Her old roommate from college. But one call lingered longer than the rest. She pressed the contact labeled Lila, my chaotic half, and grinned when the line clicked. "Woman, do you know some of us have jobs?" Lila joked immediately. "Why are you disturbing my peace at this hour?" Maya squealed. "Drop the drama. You're going to be even more annoying when you hear this." "I doubt that's possible, but go on." "I'm engaged," Maya blurted out. He proposed. Today. Under the tree. Ring and everything. Silence. Then Lila's voice softened. "No way." "Yes way." Maya sent her a photo of the ring. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. "Damn," Lila finally typed. Then aloud, "Maya, it's beautiful. You're beautiful. You deserve this. Be my maid of honor," Maya said without hesitation. "Please. You know my brain will shut down around flowers and fabrics. You're the only one I trust." Another silence. Then a slow, sweet, "Of course. I wouldn't miss it for the world." On Maya's end of the line, it sounded like love. Like support. Like joy. On Lila's end, a different story simmered beneath that smile. One full of secrets she had no intention of confessing. Because here's what Maya never knew. Lila Hart and Daniel Reed had met long before that phone call. Before the ring. Before sisterhood. Before the maple tree proposal. 2 years before Daniel knelt under that tree, he had gone to a birthday party he hadn't wanted to attend. He was tired. Work had been brutal. But his friend insisted. "Come on, man. It'll be good for you. Drinks, music, distraction. You'll like it." The apartment was crowded, loud, full of people talking too loudly over songs that were too old to be cool again. Daniel had been halfway to the kitchen when someone bumped into him, spilling a splash of wine on his shirt. "Great," he muttered. "Relax, read," a voice teased. "My face is up here, not on your shirt." He looked up and saw her. Lila. Sharp eyes. Effortless hair. Confidence is like perfume. "I'm really not this clumsy," she said, dabbing at his chest with a napkin. "You just happen to stand right in my gravity field." He laughed in spite of himself. "Your gravity field?" "Yeah. I tend to pull trouble toward me." She was joking. She was also telling the truth. They ended up talking in a corner for hours. The kind of talk that feels a little too easy, a little too fast, and a little too dangerous if you're paying attention. Daniel wasn't. He was lonely. She was bored. One dance turned into two. One drink into three. One impulsive kiss in a dark hallway turned into a second, then a third. It should have ended there. It didn't. They exchanged numbers, for fun. They kept talking, as friends. When Daniel started seeing Maya a few months later, he tried to let Lila fade out. Less replies. Slower responses. But Lila didn't disappear. She drifted closer. She showed up at mutual events. Sent messages at exactly the wrong time. Pushed the line. Crossed it. Then I crossed it again. By the time Maya introduced them officially at a brunch 2 years later, the history between them was already a stain no one could see. It was a bright Saturday afternoon when their three worlds officially collided. Maya had chosen a cute cafe downtown, all plants and soft lighting, the kind of place that served pancakes but called them stacks. She sat at the corner table bouncing her leg, refreshing her messages. "Lila, I'm 5 minutes away, drama queen. Stop panicking. Daniel, parking. Do they really need 37 signs to say, no parking?" Maya smiled. Two of her favorite people in one place. What could go wrong? Daniel arrived first, leaning down to kiss her forehead. "Relax," he said. "You're acting like my mom's about to meet my parole officer." "She is going to interrogate you one day," Maya joked. "Think of this as practice." Lila swept in moments later. She wore a simple dress that managed to look expensive and casual at the same time. Her lipstick matched the berries on the table centerpiece. "Maya," she shouted, loud enough that 3 other tables looked over. She hugged her, then turned to Daniel with a widening smile. "So this is the famous Daniel," she said. "The man who stole my wife." Maya rolled her eyes. "Danny, this is Lila." "Lila, this is Danny. Behave, both of you." Daniel stood to shake her hand. "Nice to finally meet the woman who keeps dragging my girlfriend out at midnight for emergency milkshakes." "You're lucky I do," Lila shot back quickly, her fingers wrapping around his hand just a second too long. "She'd work herself to death if I didn't force her to live a little." For a fraction of a moment, something passed between them. Recognition. Memory. Guilt. Desire. A tiny flicker. Too quiet for anyone else to hear. Maya didn't see it. She was busy laughing at her own joke about them sharing custody of her calendar. To her, this moment was perfect. Her past, her present, her future, all at one table. She had no idea her best friend had already been inside her future long before Maya got there. Once the engagement announcement went live, Lila slid into her new role like she'd been practicing for it. She became everywhere, all at once. Dress fittings? Lila drove her. Cake tastings? Lila fed her spoonfuls. Venue walkthrough? Lila FaceTimed her from every corner of the hall. "This aisle is going to make you cry," Lila said once, twirling in the empty ceremony space, letting her voice echo. "I'll be bawling. Just warning you." "You don't cry," Maya laughed. "For you, I might," Lila answered. And she did cry. On the surface, all the right tears. She called Maya my person, my soulmate, my sister for life. She posted long captions under their photos about loyalty and friendship and how she'd fight anyone who hurt her. The irony would have knocked people out if they'd seen the whole picture. But they didn't. Because betrayal rarely walks in wearing its own name. It dresses up like devotion first. At the same time, Daniel played his part perfectly. He held Maya's hand during late-night planning, fell asleep on the couch beside her exhausted from work, texted her good morning, good night, and everything in between. When his phone lit up at midnight, Maya assumed it was emails. When he stepped outside to take a call, she thought he was being respectful. When he said, "Lila was just checking on you," she smiled and said, "She's the best." She never wondered why her husband-to-be and her best friend had so much to say to each other when she wasn't in the room. Because trust is loud. And suspicion is usually whispered by hindsight. On the morning of the wedding, the sun rose like it had been hired for the job. Soft light filtered through the hotel suite where Maya stood in front of a mirror, veil trailing behind her like a small, private cloud. Her mother fussed with the lace. Her aunt cried for no reason. Her cousin kept saying, "You look like a movie." Maya just stared at herself. This is it, she thought. This is the day my life becomes what it's supposed to be. Behind her, Lila's reflection appeared in the mirror. Her dress was a soft champagne color, hugging her perfectly, hair swept into a glamorous bun, lips painted in that same signature berry shade. "Stop staring at yourself," Lila said, smiling. "You're going to make us all look average." "You look incredible," Maya replied. "You're going to distract everyone." "Good," Lila laughed. "Someone has to give your husband something to compare you to." They both laughed. Only one of them knew how literal that sentence really was. Downstairs, the hall had been transformed into a dream. Soft amber lights. White flowers spilling over gold vases. Guests murmuring, snapping photos, dabbing their eyes before anything had even happened. When the doors opened and Maya stepped onto the aisle, time felt like it took a breath. Daniel stood at the end, in a dark suit that fit him better than any promise he'd ever made. His eyes were glassy. His jaw clenched. Everyone thought he was overwhelmed by love. No one wondered if it might be guilt. As Maya walked closer, she glanced to the side and caught Lila's gaze. Lila's eyes shone with tears. They weren't just tears of joy. Somewhere inside them was the knowledge of every touch, every secret, every night that had already made this moment a lie. But the world didn't know that. The world clapped when Maya and Daniel said, "I do." The world cheered when they kissed. The world roared when they danced their first dance as husband and wife. Lila cheered the loudest. She even leaned over at one point, whispering in Maya's ear, "I'm so happy for you, truly." Maya hugged her. "Promise me," she whispered, "we'll always be like this. You and Danny and me. A team." "Always," Lila said. She didn't mention which side she thought she was really on. The resort was everything the brochure promised. The ocean is like blue glass. White sand that squeaked under bare feet. Tropical flowers that smelled so sweet they almost didn't seem real. Maya woke up on those first honeymoon mornings with the ridiculous kind of happiness that makes you smile before your eyes fully open. She'd roll over, see Daniel's face on the pillow next to her, and think, "This is my husband. My husband," she'd whisper to herself, tasting the word. They swam. They walked. They took photos she planned to hang in the hallway of their future house. She posted one to her story with the caption, "Married my best friend." Back home, Lila replied with fire emojis and, "Don't forget us peasants when you're rich and in love." On the third day, Maya was lying by the pool, eyes closed, headphones in, when a shadow blocked her sun. "Did you order room service without me?" she joked, pulling out one earbud. Then she froze. "Lila," she said, sitting up so fast her lounge chair squeaked. "What are you doing here?" Lila stood over her in a white cover-up and oversized sunglasses. "Relax," she laughed. "I'm not here to third-wheel your honeymoon. I booked a solo trip months ago. I had no idea you'd pick the same resort, but hey, fate loves drama." Maya blinked, then laughed too. "You're kidding." "Swear," Lila said, raising a hand. "If I'd known, I'd have booked somewhere cheaper so I could afford gifts for your future babies." Maya jumped up and hugged her. "You're unbelievable," she said. "Of all the places." "Small world," another voice cut in. Daniel walked up, towel slung around his neck, hair damp from the ocean. For a split second, his face went slack. Then he recovered, forcing a smile. "Wow," he said with a strained laugh. "Guess we really can't escape you, Lila." "Please," she tossed back, putting on her sunglasses. "You should be paying me. I make your wife 10 times more fun." They all laughed. Later, Lila booked a room across the resort. She lied. Her room was 3 doors down from theirs. That night, Maya fell asleep tangled in hotel sheets and happy exhaustion, whispering how lucky she felt. Behind her, the man she trusted waited until her breathing evened out. Then he slipped free of the bed. He walked down the hallway in bare feet, heart racing, not with guilt, but anticipation. He knocked on a door that should never have opened for him. It opened. Lila stood there, wrapped in a robe. "You're late," she said, pulling him inside. On the balcony that overlooked the same ocean Maya had fallen in love with, 2 people did what they'd been doing for years. Only this time, it was in a place that should have belonged to Maya alone. They thought the ocean would keep their secrets. But secrets have a way of washing back to shore. Years after that honeymoon, after routines and shared bills and new furniture and inside jokes built a life that looked solid from the outside, one small message finally cracked it open. Maya stood in her living room, Daniel's phone in her hand, Lila's words burning through her. I can't wait to feel you again. Should I stay the whole weekend at your place? She scrolled up, seeing dates that matched: business trips, late-night meetings. I'm crashing at my brother's. She saw timestamps from their honeymoon. She saw photos in hotel rooms she didn't recognize. She saw videos she never consented to be replaced in. Her breathing turned shallow. The walls seemed to lean in. But under the shock, something else steadied her. Clarity. She forwarded everything to herself. Subject line: proof. I am not crazy. She saved them to a hidden folder. Then she placed Daniel's phone back on the couch exactly where it had been. The front door opened. Smells good, Daniel called from the hallway, kicking off his shoes. Did I burn dinner just by existing, or are we safe? Maya walked back into the kitchen, turned off the stove, and calmly moved the pan off the heat. Her hands were nearly still. Her heart was not. Hey, he said, appearing in the doorway, leaning in to kiss her cheek. She stepped away. Daniel, she said, voice low but measured, how long have you been sleeping with Lila? The joking expression fell from his face like a mask he forgot he was holding. What? He said, too fast. Maya, what are you talking about? Don't, she said. I'm asking you once. Tell me the truth. Silence. Heavy. Final. His eyes flicked toward the living room. The phone. The detonator. He swallowed. Maya, I can explain. She picked up his phone from the counter where she'd placed it. Tapped the screen. Opened the chat. Dozens of messages stared back at him. The color drained from his face. The life they had built together didn't explode. It simply ended. In that quiet kitchen, with overcooked strawberries and a buzzing fridge, a woman who had given her whole heart looked at the two people who had broken it, and decided, for the first time, to choose herself. This was the moment her heartbreak started turning into power. Under the sharp, metallic quiet of the kitchen, Daniel stood frozen. His mouth opened twice, soundless, like a man drowning in air. Maya didn't move. She didn't need to. The truth had already filled every corner of the room. When did it start? She asked. Daniel rubbed both hands over his face. Maya, please. Let me. When? She repeated. He slumped onto the chair, elbows on his knees, head in his hands. 2 years ago, he whispered. It was before you and Lila became close. It wasn't supposed to continue. I tried to stop it. Maya felt something in her chest shift. Not break. Break had already happened. This was something else. Something colder. You tried to stop sleeping with my best friend while you were promising to love me, she said. Daniel winced. I'm sorry. I don't know how to undo it. I don't know how to fix. You don't fix this, Maya cut in. You leave. Pack a bag. His head snapped up. Maya, no. You leave, she repeated, steady. Tonight. He didn't argue again. Maybe because he knew he had no grounds to. Maybe because shame clung to him too tightly to fight. He walked down the hallway slowly, like each step agreed he deserved to lose something. Maya stayed where she was until she heard the zipper of his duffel bag. The house felt different already. The quiet had a pulse. When he came back with the bag slung over his shoulder, he was crying. Quiet tears. The kind that fall when a man realizes what he destroyed with his own hands. Maya, he whispered, I don't want to lose you. You lost me the moment you lied to me, she said. This is just the part where you leave the building you burned. He nodded, wiped his face, and stepped out the door. When it clicked shut, the silence that followed didn't feel lonely. It felt earned. Her fingers trembled as she dialed the next call. Lila answered on the second ring. Her voice was bright, casual, falsely warm. What's up, babe? Maya didn't raise her voice. If you lie, I'll hang up. Are you sleeping with my husband? A beat. Then a sigh, sharp and impatient. So he told you? No, Maya said. Your message told me. There was a small scrape in the background, a glass against a counter. Then Lila laughed. You shouldn't have gone through his phone. You shouldn't have gone through my life, Maya replied. Oh, please, Lila scoffed. Daniel was never yours. He was with me first. I let you have your little marriage fantasy because I felt sorry for you. That sentence landed with heat, but not the kind Lila expected. Maya didn't cry. She didn't scream. She simply recalibrated. You were with him on my honeymoon, Maya said. Every night, Lila said flatly. What are you going to do about it? Maya ended the call. She sat down. Her hands were steady again. The next morning, she met with an attorney. A woman in a navy suit who listened carefully, spoke precisely, and didn't flinch at what she saw in the folder of evidence. You have clear grounds for divorce, the attorney said. We can file immediately. Do it, Maya answered. The attorney nodded. You'll need to protect your accounts, your home, anything jointly tied. Are there children? No. Then this will be cleaner. Clean. A strange word, considering the mess. The legal process began faster than she expected. Paper after paper signed. Statements submitted. Evidence documented. Maya didn't waver once. She moved with a quiet determination that surprised even her. That week, she blocked Lila on every platform. She removed photos from frames and placed them in a box, not to burn, but to archive. Evidence, not memories. She slept lightly, woke early, drank tea slowly, and rebuilt the structure of her days. Pain didn't disappear, but pain lost its leadership. A few days later, the doorbell rang at 7 p.m. Maya checked the camera. Lila stood there in a fitted dress, makeup perfect, a smile sharpened like a blade. Maya opened the door, chain still on. You're trespassing, she said. We should talk, Lila replied. Like adults. Adults don't sleep with their friend's husband. Lila's smile twitched. If you were enough for him, he wouldn't have come to me. Maya didn't blink. Leave, she said. Now. Or what? Lila stepped closer. You'll post the videos? Go ahead. You'll ruin yourself too. Maya unlocked the chain, stepped outside, and closed the door behind her. I don't need the internet to destroy you, she said. Your life will do that on its own. Something flickered in Lila's expression. Something unsure. Something that hinted she expected a breakdown, not clarity. "You're pathetic," Lila spat. "I'm free. You're alone." "For now," Maya said. "But I won't always be alone. You, on the other hand, will never be free. Not from yourself." Lila faltered, just once, before turning and storming down the driveway. The car engine revved. The taillights disappeared. Maya went inside, locked the door, then sat at the dining table. She opened a notebook and wrote one line. "Protect your future. Not their feelings." Her lawyer called the next morning. "Hearing is scheduled," she said. "It's moving quickly." Maya nodded even though no one could see her. "Good. I'm ready." Days later, she walked into the courthouse wearing a crisp white blouse and black slacks. No jewelry except her watch. No expression except composure. Daniel sat on the other side. He tried to meet her eyes. She didn't give him that privilege. His lawyer spoke first. Words like regret, mistake, confusion, temporary lapse. None of it mattered. Maya's attorney rose and presented the evidence with the calmness of a surgeon removing something rotted. Screenshots. Receipts. Dates. Videos. Messages. The judge read everything. When it was Maya's turn, she stood, straight-backed and steady. "I loved him," she said. "But love doesn't excuse deception. I gave him my loyalty. He gave me lies. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here for the truth." The courtroom remained still. The judge nodded. Divorce granted on the grounds of infidelity. The gavel fell. Just like that, a marriage ended. Daniel approached her afterward, voice cracking. "Maya, please. I can still." "You can heal," she said. "Just not with me." She walked past him without looking back. That night, rain traced the windows. Maya sat in her living room staring at nothing. She wasn't victorious. She wasn't defeated. She was simply free, and freedom has its own quiet weight. Her phone buzzed. A link. Anonymous. An account posting rumors about Daniel and Lila. No videos yet, but close. She closed the message. Her lawyer had warned her. Online destruction always circles back. Revenge was easy. Too easy. But Maya wasn't interested in playing in the dirt with people who lived there permanently. She put her phone down. Someone else could dig their graves. She didn't need to lift a finger. 3 weeks later, as she left a volunteer session at the Women's Center, her phone rang. Lila. Maya almost ignored it, but she answered. "What?" she said plainly. They fired me," Lila cried. "Someone leaked the videos. My job, my reputation, everything is falling apart." "I didn't leak them," Maya said. "I know," Lila whispered. "He thinks I posted them myself. He's threatening to sue me. I don't know what to do." Maya's face remained still. "You made those recordings," she said. "Now you're suffering from your own choices." "Please," Lila sobbed. "Can you just talk to me? Once? Please. Forgiveness isn't a conversation, Maya said. It's a decision. I already made mine. She ended the call. She drove home in silence. When she got out of the car, Daniel was standing at her door in the rain. Maya, he said, voice hoarse, suit soaked through. Please. I lost everything. My job. My reputation. I need to explain. You don't owe me explanations, she said. And I don't owe you anything. It's over with Lila, he pleaded. She ruined everything. I should never have. Stop, Maya said. Your choices ruined your life. Not mine. He swallowed, defeated. Are you really done with me? Yes, she said gently. I hope one day you become someone you're proud of. But that journey won't happen beside me. She closed the door. He didn't knock again. Months passed. The pain softened. The house became hers again. She changed her curtains, repainted the living room, and bought a new perfume. She laughed again. One afternoon, she sat by a quiet lake, the same lake where Daniel once promised forever. Now it felt like a place she finally reclaimed. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unfamiliar number. Hi Maya, it's Lucas from the center. I was wondering if you'd like to get coffee sometime. She looked at the water. Calm. Steady. Holding nothing, it wasn't meant to hold. She typed back. Coffee sounds good. Not love. Not yet. Just life. Moving forward. And that was enough. The morning light softened the edges of the world as Maya stepped out of her front door, the cool air brushing against her skin. Months had passed since the divorce, enough time for her to learn the rhythm of her new life, to let the echoes of betrayal fade into the background instead of owning the whole room. Healing didn't announce itself with fireworks, it arrived quietly, like breath returning after you didn't realize you'd been holding it. She walked to her car, heading toward the women's center where she'd begun volunteering every Saturday. It had become a sanctuary for her. Not because she was trying to save anyone, but because listening to other women reduced the weight of what had happened to her. Pain becomes smaller when shared. Inside the center, the room smelled faintly of lemon-scented cleaner and warm paper, the comforting scent of a place where people gather to rebuild themselves. Maya helped arrange chairs for a support circle. Moments later, Lucas walked in. He carried 2 coffees. Black, no sugar, he said, handing one to her. I remembered. Maya offered a small smile. Thank you. There was nothing rushed between them, nothing forced. He didn't try to pull her into a story she wasn't ready to tell. He didn't ask about the details of her past. They simply existed in the same space, easy, unthreatening, real. Some days, that was enough. Later that afternoon, as the group gathered, one woman spoke through tears about a partner who had drained her emotionally until there was nothing left but a shadow of herself. Maya listened, feeling the familiar ache, but she no longer felt overwhelmed by it. Instead, she reached across the circle and held the woman's trembling hand. You'll be okay, she said softly. Not because everything will be perfect. But because you're choosing yourself. That's the beginning. The woman nodded, mouth trembling. Lucas watched Maya, not in admiration, but with the awareness of someone who understood what it meant to survive something quietly catastrophic. When the session ended, he walked beside her to the parking lot. "You're good at this," he said. "I'm just talking." "No," he corrected. "You're giving people something that can't be taught. A reason to keep going." She didn't reply. Compliments were still strange on her skin, like new clothes that hadn't softened yet. But she didn't push it away either. "Coffee tomorrow?" he asked. Maya paused. Not because she didn't want to, but because she needed to measure herself. Healing had been a long corridor, and she wasn't going to sprint because someone opened a door. "Tomorrow sounds fine," she said. Lucas smiled, small, controlled, respectful. The kind of smile that didn't demand anything from her. As she drove home, the sky was streaked in soft peach and lavender. There was no sense of a new chapter forcing itself on her, just the gentle awareness that, maybe, life had more for her than survival. That evening, Maya lit a candle on her coffee table. A simple lavender one she bought on impulse the week before. The house didn't feel haunted anymore. It felt like something she was shaping again. Her phone buzzed. A message from a number she hadn't saved, but one she immediately recognized. Daniel. She stared at the preview. A long message. Too long. She deleted it without opening it. Moments later, another buzz. Then another. Then silence. The finality of it didn't hurt. It relieved her. She placed the phone face down and poured herself a glass of water. As she sipped, she remembered the early days after discovering the betrayal, when her heart felt like a casualty of her own naivety. Now, that same heart felt stronger, cleaned out, rewired. She had become someone who understood boundaries the way people understand oxygen, essential, non-negotiable. A soft knocking pulled her from her thoughts. She frowned. No one was expected. She opened the door an inch. Lila. The sight of her stirred nothing. No anger. No fear. Just distance. Lila looked worn, hair disheveled, makeup smeared, eyes hollow. A woman dragged through consequences she never thought she'd face. "Maya," she said, voice barely audible. "Please. Just hear me out." "No." Lila blinked, startled. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Everything's gone. My job. Friends. His family hates me. He hates me. I hate me. I didn't know it would get this bad." "You didn't know betrayal destroys?" Maya replied calmly. "That deception rolls downhill? That choices have a cost?" Lila swallowed hard. "I'm trying to fix my life." "That's good," Maya said. "But your healing does not require my participation." Tears filled Lila's eyes. "I thought you were a good person." "I am," Maya answered. "That's why I'm protecting myself." She began closing the door. "Please," Lila whispered. "Can we at least talk? Once? For closure?" Maya didn't hesitate. "No." The door clicked shut. She locked it. Not out of fear, out of clarity. She wasn't responsible for cleaning the mess left by other people's disasters. Back inside, Maya sat on the couch, calming her breath. She picked up a book she'd barely gotten past chapter 5. This time the words didn't blur. They stayed. Held. Sank in. The quiet of the evening settled around her like a coat meant to fit her and no one else. She realized something then. Healing isn't a finale. It's a series of choices. Small. Constant. Intentional. And she was choosing herself every time. Over the next weeks, coffee with Lucas became routine. Never too deep. Never too invasive. Just warm enough to remind her she wasn't broken. Just steady enough to remind her that connection wasn't dangerous, just selective. One afternoon, as they sat outside a small cafe, sipping warm drinks while the city drifted around them, Lucas asked gently, "Do you ever think about letting someone in again?" Maya thought about it. "I think about it," she said. "But I'm not building my life around waiting for it." He nodded. Good. The breeze lifted her hair slightly. Her shoulders relaxed. She looked at him, not with longing, not with expectation, but with honesty. "You're patient," she said. "I'm not waiting for anything," Lucas replied. "I just like being around you." She believed him. For once, believing didn't scare her. Months later, Maya found herself at the same lake where she had once cried over the end of her marriage. The air smelled of pine and clean water. She sat at the edge of the dock, feet dangling above the rippling surface. A sense of peace spread through her, an internal settling. This place no longer belonged to the ghost of her past. It belonged to the woman she had become. Her phone buzzed. "Lucas. You at your lake again?" "Yes," she typed. "Wanted a quiet moment." "I'll bring dinner." "Want company?" She stared at the message. Then typed back. "Yes." Not because she needed him, but because she wanted to share a moment with someone who didn't take from her. She placed the phone beside her, leaned back on her hands, and inhaled deeply. The world felt open again. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the sky shifted into a deep, velvety blue. She whispered, not a prayer, not a plea, but a truth. "You didn't break me. You freed me." And the lake held that truth quietly, like water holding light. Maya walked forward into a life rebuilt from the ruins, not with revenge, not with bitterness, but with clarity, strength, and a heart that beat for itself first. The story didn't end with betrayal. It ended with becoming. And that was her real power.